Hello, Colorado Writers Collaborative. I'm Mark Coker from Smashwords, and I'm really thrilled to be here with you. I'm going to share my screen right now so we can get started. All right, here we go. So this is the first of 4 presentations that I'm doing for CWC. And these are the presentations I'm doing. So this is the first in the series. If you're joining me for the first time, great, you're watching this in the correct order. I would suggest that if you're new to ebook publishing and to self-publishing, that you start with this presentation first and then watch the other presentations in sequential order. If you've already been publishing ebooks for a couple years, then you can probably skip this presentation. This presentation is mostly for novices. But if you're still relatively new to ebook publishing, I think you'll get something out of this. So we're going to start here with the Introduction to ebook publishing, and then in the second presentation, 16 Secrets to ebook publishing success, you're going to learn the best practices of the most successful ebook authors. And then in the third session, really excited about that. This is a completely new presentation for me, book launch strategy, pre-orders and pre-sales. So we're going to talk about these two really exciting tools for making your next book launch as successful as possible. And then the fourth session is also a completely new session, the Author's Guide to Post-Pandemic Publishing. So I'm going to take a look at the impact that COVID-19 has had on the world of publishing, on indie authors, on your readers, and talk about some of the silver lining that has come out of this. I mean, it's difficult to talk about silver lining given all the death and destruction and economic dislocation of COVID-19. But I think you'll be encouraged by some of the changes that are taking place that'll open up new opportunities for you as an ebook author. All right, so let's get started on the next slide here. So Introduction to ebook publishing. This is what we're going to discuss in this session. So we're going to talk about a few of the key trends that are shaping the ebook market. We're going to be looking in the past. For those of you who are new to publishing, I think it'll be really interesting to understand where we've come from, because once you understand where we've come from, you'll get a better understanding of where we are and where we're going. We'll talk about the advantages that you have as a self-published ebook author. Now, if you're new to ebook publishing and new to publishing in general, these two terms, self-published, indie, they mean the same thing. An indie author is an independent author, just as a self-published author is. You are the publisher of your book. And then we'll jump into an ebook publishing checklist. So I'll cover how to create a book, how to price a book, how to get your book into the major ebook retailing stores, into public libraries. We'll talk about marketing and a whole bunch more. So let's get going. So first, just a little bit on my background. And I'm not going to talk about my background too much in the sessions that follow. So this will be the one time that talk about me and I talk about Smashwords. As you'll see, to the extent possible through all these presentations, I'm not going to talk about Smashwords that much. I'm not really here to talk about Smashwords. I'm here to share best practices that will help you be as successful as possible as an indie author, whether you're working with Smashwords or another distributor or whatever. I'm here to help you be successful. You'll see that my presentations are really dense with information. At the end of the presentation, I'll show you a link where you can download the full presentation if you want to get a PDF of this and the other presentations. All right, so my story starts with this lovely woman. This is Leslie Ann, my wife. When I first met her, she had just left her job as a reporter for Soap Opera Weekly magazine. Now, who would have thought that you could be a journalist covering soap operas? But that's what Leslie Ann's job was. She was telling me these stories about this the wild and wacky world of daytime television soap operas and all the actors and actresses that she had interviewed on the sets, I suggested to her that she should write a book about this. It sounded really interesting. And then she said, well, why don't we write that book together? And I thought, what the heck? I'd always dreamed of writing a book. I just never thought it would be about soap operas. So I took a sabbatical from my work. We moved down to Burbank, California, and over the course of a couple months, we interviewed almost 50 soap opera industry insiders for all their dirt on what it's like behind the scenes of daytime television soap operas. So we interviewed actors, actresses, hair and makeup people, agents, managers, publicists. It was just really fascinating, all this information that we got. And then we moved. We borrowed a cabin from a friend of mine who had a cabin in the woods of Vermont. And over the course of 4 months, we wrote our first novel together. And it was an absolutely fabulous experience. After finishing the novel, we did what every good author is trained to do. We did multiple revisions. We hired professional editors, book doctors, got it whipped into shape, shopped it around to literary agents. We were lucky enough to have 2 top-tier literary agents offer us representation. We got to interview them and choose which agency we wanted to work with. And we ended up working with Distel & Goderich in New York. They've got a different name now, but they're one of the best agencies out there. This is the book that we wrote. Now, for 2 years, Distel & Goderich shopped us around to all the major publishers of commercial women's fiction. And for 2 years, we got nothing but rejection for our novel. And as you might imagine, this was pretty heartbreaking. We had already showed the book to fans of soap operas. We knew that there was a market for it. But the publishers were reluctant to publish our book because previous novels that had targeted soap opera fans had not performed well in the marketplace. And so you can imagine how disappointing that was. Now keep in mind that this was about 15, 16 years ago. This was back in the dark ages of publishing, where publishers were in control of everything. So publishing was a print-centric business. Ebooks were not a factor in the marketplace. Readers were, purchased print books through physical bookstores. So online book selling wasn't even much of a factor yet. And these publishers, they controlled the printing press. They decided which books got published. They controlled your access to retail distribution. So they decided which books got into retail stores so they could be discovered by readers. And they also possessed all the critical best practices knowledge of professional publishing. How do you professionally publish, distribute, market, and sell a book? They decided which writers could become published authors. And they were deciding what readers could read. And the more I thought about this, the more I just began to view the entire publishing industry as broken. Now, keep in mind, this was around the time that YouTube was coming on big, blogging was coming on big. YouTube allowed self-publishing of video content. Blogging allowed self-publishing of any kind of written material, allowed anyone to become a journalist. And many YouTubers and bloggers were amassing huge audiences. And what YouTube and blogging showed was that there's enormous talent locked up in the minds and fingertips of ordinary people all around the world. So I thought, if you can self-publish a video or self-publish a blog, why can't you self-publish a book? And the more I thought about this, the more I realized that, this should be an essential human right, just as free speech, that everyone should have a right to publish a book. But I understood that the publishers, based on, due to their business model, they were unable and unwilling to take a chance on every author. They simply could not invest in every single author. They couldn't say yes to everyone. And that meant that they were choosing which books got published, which writers became authors. And for the vast majority of writers, maybe 95, 98% of writers in the world, they were going to have to go to their graves with an unpublished book. And thinking about that made me think, well, that's just a travesty. Because what untold number of potential literary classics are being lost to humanity just because publishers are valuing your book based on their perception of your book's commercial merit? And is commercial merit even the proper way to be valuing books? My answer to that question is no. If your book has a potential audience of just two people, your grandkids, your mother, then your book, in my mind, is just as important as some New York Times bestseller, because your book has the chance to have a profound impact on somebody. And that's why we write books. We write books to have an impact on people, to share our stories, to share our knowledge. So I started thinking, I wondered, wouldn't it be cool if someone somewhere could say yes to every single writer in the world? What if someone could take a chance on every single writer in the world, so that writer could self-publish their book and let readers decide which books are worth reading? Let readers decide which books have merit and which don't. And so that was the genesis for Smashwords. So we launched Smashwords in 2008. I can't believe it's so long ago now. It's 12 years ago. And Smashwords, if you're not familiar with it, it's a free ebook publishing platform. So we make it fast, free, and easy for any writer anywhere in the world to self-publish an ebook. So we provide free self-publishing tools, and we provide free educational resources. The best practices knowledge we will teach you in the materials that we provide, how to think and act like a professional publisher, so that you have the greatest possible chance to achieve whatever success you're trying to achieve with your book. And we also provide distribution to most of the major ebook retailers and to the public library systems. And although our primary business is ebook distribution, we also operate the Smashwords store. In our store, it's been a surprise to me, the store has been growing every single year for the last 4 years, despite the fact that most ebook retailers have been flat or declining. So that's just some background on Smashwords. Oh, and to work with Smashwords, you just sign up for a free account. The confirmation email we send you walks you through all the next steps of how to prepare your book for publication and distribution with us. This is how Smashwords has grown over the years. We're now publishing over 530,000 books, close to 150,000 authors. We're the world's largest distributor of self-published ebooks. And basically that's all I'm really going to say about Smashwords. For the rest of my presentations, I will mention Smashwords where the examples are necessary, but from here on out, most of what you're going to learn is going to be equally applicable to your publishing business, however you decide to publish. So let's look at the brief history of ebooks. What you see here is a chart that shows the approximate market share for ebooks compared to print. And what you see here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I'm pointing it here at about 2008. This is where Smashwords launched. Back in 2008, ebooks accounted for about 0.5% of the overall book market. And so we launched at a time that no one was really thinking about books. In fact, if you wanted to self-publish an ebook back in 2008, you had two choices. You had Smashwords and you had Amazon. They were another early mover in the ebook space. Also keep in mind that in 2008, it wasn't possible for self-published ebooks to achieve mainstream distribution into the bookstores. That changed in 2009. Smashwords was the first to open up Barnes & Noble to self-published ebooks. We were the first to open up Sony to self-published ebooks. At the time, Sony was one of the largest ebook retailers. And of course, Amazon was already open. But what you see in this chart here is in these very first early years, exponential growth in ebooks. And a lot of this is, thanks to Amazon, and thanks to Sony, and thanks to Barnes and Noble, and these early ebook retailers, these early booksellers that really got behind ebooks. More and more books started coming to market. The e-reading devices were getting more sophisticated, more user-friendly, lower costs, easier to use. And so we had this confluence of multiple things coming together at the same time to really allow ebooks to shine in a way that they had never shown before. So what we see here in these very first few years, exponential growth in the ebook market. These were pretty incredible years. The market certainly grew faster than I ever anticipated it would grow. These were the years where almost every single author was seeing their sales increase every single month after month. I mean, you could do no wrong. Also here in late 2008, early 2009, we started seeing some of the first commercial successes among self-published ebook authors. And the first success was among romance authors. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of romance authors who had been traditionally published. And back in the old print world, the publishers exhausted all the sales that they could get from those books. Those books went out of print. And then those publishers reverted the rights back to the authors. They basically said, look, here's your book. To us, it's worthless. We've exploited all the value that we can from it. Here's your worthless book. And so these self-published authors, mostly women, were taking their books, reformatting them as an ebook, publishing them on Smashwords and on Amazon. And then we were, at that time, getting those books distributed into the major bookstores so that those books could appear side by side with all the other traditionally published books. And to the surprise of everyone, many of these self-published authors selling their out-of-print reverted rights book for 99 cents, $1.99, $2.99, $3.99, these authors started making more money in their first month as a self-published author than they had during their entire contract with Harlequin or whoever their publisher was. And so that early commercial success of the romance authors really inspired other authors to recognize that, yes, you can self-publish with pride, professionalism, and commercial success. And so that changed everything. It changed the attitude, because back in 2008, self-publishing was the option of last resort. Nobody wanted to self-publish, nobody that had a brain at least, because most self-published authors failed. Because most self-published authors, even if they were publishing in print, they couldn't get bookstore distribution. That's why they were failing. But ebooks changed everything. Because ebooks are just made up of digital bits and bytes, it made it possible for the major retailers to say yes to every single self-published ebook. And once these self-published ebooks made it onto the virtual shelves of these retailers, they started selling. And with every commercial success, with every New York Times bestseller, it inspired, writers in every other genre. It inspired the entire industry to start respecting authors in a completely new way. And so that prior stigma of self-publishing, we've seen that evaporate over the years, because you can't argue with success. So also during this exponential phase, it was pretty amazing. You saw self-published ebook authors outselling and outcompeting the large traditional publishers. Now, in these early years, no one knew how to publish, market, and distribute ebooks. Even the large publishers were still trying to figure it out. And what we saw is that, the large publishers had multi-$100,000 budgets, but these scrappy self-published authors who were just as clueless as everyone else, they didn't have million-dollar budgets. So they had to get creative. And these scrappy authors were out there doing all kinds of things that the industry thought was stupid, but many of these things turned out to be brilliant. So this idea of pricing books at a lower price, at 99 cents, $2.99, $3.99. The traditional publishing industry didn't want to do that. or this idea of, if you're writing series, to make the first book in your series free to drive readership into your series. These are things that were pioneered by self-published authors. And so self-published authors really pioneered a lot of the best practices that we're talking about today. And that's pretty exciting for me, just to been able to be part of this and to watch it. Now, what you see here is around 2012, 2013, that exponential growth of the market hit a plateau. Now, in the fourth presentation that I do on post-pandemic publishing, I'm going to talk more about the reasons for that plateau. But for now, I'll just summarize and say that, basically we hit an equilibrium among consumers. For their, about 25% wanted to read digitally, actually a little bit more than that, and print still maintained its popularity as a format. But one thing about this chart, even though it looks pretty much flatlined in terms of market share, it underrepresents the amount of reading that's happening on digital screens, because ebooks are priced dramatically lower than print books, which means the actual percentage of reading happening on screens is probably over 50% now. So that's important for you to know as you're plotting your publishing strategy. You need to have a strong digital presence. So let's move on here. So why self-publish ebooks? Well, for one reason, publishers have lost their monopoly. As I mentioned, 12, 15 years ago, if you wanted to publish, you only had one option: work with a traditional publisher. But now writers no longer need publishers to reach readers. And writers are now asking, what can a publisher do for me that I can't do for myself? And many writers are also coming to the conclusion that if they work with a traditional publisher, they may not be able to reach as many readers as they could otherwise self-publishing. One of the primary reasons is that traditional publishers are still pricing their books much, much higher than what consumers expect, especially on the ebook side. Now, I'm not here to bash traditional publishers. Maybe I'm a little bit unusual in the self-publishing industry in that I love traditional publishers. I want traditional publishers to be successful. I'm not here to wanting those traditional publishers to fail. I appreciate that those traditional publishers are offering great opportunities for writers, and that publishers can do things for some writers that writers can't do for themselves. So if you're writing nonfiction, for example, a physical bookstore distribution is going to be a lot more important for you. Well, as a self-published author, it's close to impossible to get your nonfiction print book or your fiction print book distributed into bookstores. So publishers can still do a lot for you. But one of the exciting things here that you need to understand and take away from this is that the world is different now than it was 12 years ago. 12 years ago, you only had one path to publishing. Today, you can start your book and with 100% assurance know that one way or another, your book is going to see the light of day. It's going to be published, whether it's traditionally published or self-published. That's exciting. So what are the advantages of indie authorship? If you speak with fellow indie authors, these are some of the things that you're going to hear from them. So faster time to market. If you're working with a traditional publisher, it might take a year or longer to sell your book to a traditional publisher. And then it might take another 12 to 18 months for that book to hit store shelves and to be available to consumers. With self-publishing, if your book is ready for publication today, you can publish it today. You can start reaching a worldwide audience today. And that's amazing. Probably the second most frequent thing that I hear cited by self-publishers why they enjoy indie publishing is the total creative control. Your book says what it wants to say, what you want it to say. Your characters do what you want your characters to do. You write what you want to write. You don't have to worry about, whether some agent or publisher knows how to categorize your book or how to place it in the market or how to market it to the market. If you've got a vision for your book, all those other considerations be damned. You can publish your book and you can find an audience. Many indie authors enjoy better distribution to a global market than traditional publishers because traditionally published authors, because a lot of traditionally published authors are still selling off the rights to their books by geography, which means there might be some geographies in the world that haven't been able to purchase the rights to the book, which means that's kind of a dark hole. Like maybe your book's not available in India, but as a traditionally published author. But as a self-published author, your book's going to be available everywhere. Another neat thing about ebooks, this is kind of a double-edged sword that we'll be talking about in some of the other presentations, is that with an ebook, your book is immortal. It never has to go out of print. Even if your book doesn't sell a single copy at Barnes & Noble or at Apple or at Amazon, that retailer is not going to take your book off the shelf and force you out of print. That's because the virtual shelf space is so cheap for them. So it means your book can persist forever. For as long as you want your book out there, it can be available and discoverable by future readers. That's really exciting. Now, as a self-published author, you also enjoy lower expenses. You're running your own publishing business, running it out of your house. You don't have Manhattan skyrise office rents to pay. That means you can price your product, your book, at a lower price than the traditional publishers can. And anytime that you offer a product at a lower price, it becomes more affordable and more desirable to more consumers. And you can earn more for every ebook that you sell. So let's look at that. How much more? Well, quadruple plus. Self-published ebook authors earn 60 to 80% of the list price as their ebook royalty, whereas traditionally published ebook authors only earn 12 to 17%. So that's a big difference. What does that mean? Well, at $3.99 as a price point for your self-published ebook, you're going to earn between $2.40 and $3.20. So about $2.50 to $3. For a traditionally published author to earn that same amount on that same sale, their book would need to be priced over $14 to earn just $2. So you start to see the competitive advantage that you have as an indie ebook author, because the lower price means that you can reach more readers. It means more readers are going to be willing to take a chance on you. And with every sale you get, you're earning a higher royalty, both percentage-wise and dollar amount. So that is exciting for you. So what that means is you've got a significant competitive advantage over the traditionally published authors, and it means a traditionally published ebook author has a disadvantage when they have to compete against you, the indie author. All right, so now we're going to jump into the basics of self-publishing in ebook. As I introduce terms, I'm going to define them. My assumption is that you're an intelligent person, but you're new to publishing. And so some of these terms might be foreign to you, as foreign as Greek. And so I'm going to carefully take you through it step by step and demystify it, because it's not difficult to do, to self-publish an ebook. So here's some of the things that we're going to talk about that you need to know about to publish a book. We'll go through them one by one. So the first thing you need to do is finish your book. That's easier said than done. Your first draft of your book is not ready for publication, even though you could publish your first draft at Smashwords or Amazon. That would be a foolish thing to do. Your book needs to be super awesome. Your book needs to take readers to an emotionally satisfying extreme. Your book needs to make the reader go, wow. You need to rock their world. And your first draft isn't going to do that. So you are the publisher as a self-published author. You don't have a team of people to do this for you unless you hire the team. So that means that book that you write, it needs to be edited, revised, edited again, revised again. If you can afford a professional editor, you should hire one. Editors can be expensive, but they're going to take your book up to another level and help you achieve your greatest possible potential with your book. You should involve beta readers. Beta readers are test readers. They're just ordinary readers who are going to read your book and provide you feedback on your book. So if you want to learn more about beta readers, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my podcast. My podcast is called Smart Author. You can find it anywhere. And I've got an episode dedicated to how to work with beta readers. So you can check that out if you want to learn about how to work with these test readers. And I should add that these test readers will give you incredibly valuable feedback on your book. And much of this feedback is the type of feedback that you'd get from a professional editor. But they're not a replacement for a professional editor. I should make that clear as well. All right. So the next thing, Backmatter. It's also known as end matter. A lot of writers make the mistake of ending their book, the last sentence, with a period, and then there's nothing else after that. That is a missed opportunity. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of your reader. They just took a chance on you and read you for the first time. They loved your book. They're crying happy tears of joy about how amazing your book is, how amazing your story is. They want to read more about you. They want to know more about you. So don't end your book with just a period. At the end of your book, I want you to put at least these 3 sections at the end of your book. So about the author, just a short bio. Humanize yourself. Say something interesting about yourself. If you raise alpacas in a farm outside of Denver, mention that. That's kind of interesting. Help the readers get a deeper appreciation of who you are as a person and as a writer. The next section, really important. Other books by this author. So other books by Jane Smith. Just list them. Because the reader just fell in love with your writing, they're going to want to read more of your stuff. So make it easy for them to go out there and buy your other books. And then the final piece that's really important here is connect with the author. So here I want you to list all of your social media coordinates. So Facebook, Twitter, if you're on Instagram, if you have a website, a blog, if you've got a Smashwords author page, put a direct hyperlink in there so that for the reader, you are just one click away from them following you. All right. Also, very important, you should have your own private mailing list. So add a link where they can subscribe to your private mailing list. We'll talk more about the private mailing list in the 3rd session that I'm doing on the book launch and why that's so important. So put these 3 things, these 3 sections in the back of your book. This 3rd one here, connecting with the author, your social media coordinates. This is one of the secrets to growing your social media platform, your ability to reach readers so that they can follow you, friend you, be connected with you so that you can communicate directly with them and so that they can learn about your new upcoming releases. So do that. Now, there are other things that you can put into the back matter of your book, like sample chapters of your other books. Or if you've created like a reading group discussion guide, you can do stuff like that as well. All right, the next thing that you need to know about is the cover image. Now with a print book is actually composed of 3 different images. You've got the front cover image, the spine image, and then the back cover image. But with an ebook, there's just one image. It's the front cover image. So you need to invest in a professional cover image. One of the most common mistakes that I see self-published authors making is they think, oh, well, I have access to these different graphical design tools. I can design my own cover and I can do it for free. And, oh, look what I designed. I think it's wonderful. Well, no, it's garbage. Unless you are a professional cover designer, most likely the cover that you're going to create is going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. So it's not expensive to hire a professional. You can find them out there for under $300. And if you want to splurge, you can go a little bit higher, but it's one of the lowest cost investments, highest impact investments that you can make in your book other than probably editing. Well, editing's expensive, but the cover is really important. You can have the most brilliantly written book, but if you have a horrible cover, you're going to chase readers away. You're not going to attract them. Now at Smashwords, I maintain a list. It's called Mark's List. And you'll find it at smashwords.com/list. I have a list of low-cost cover designers. I'm not saying these are the best cover designers in the world, but they all have online portfolios. You can check them out, and if their style resonates with what you envision for your book, then hire them. And if you don't find one there that you don't like, just ask your fellow author friends, who are they working with? They're hundreds, if not thousands, of high quality cover designers out there, but definitely look at their portfolio before you hire them. And all these people on my list, they're not paying me to be on the list. I don't earn a commission if you hire them. We're just putting that up as a public service for Smashwords authors. Now, the image that you or your cover designer designs, it needs to resonate with your target audience. If you're writing romance, your target audience isn't all romance readers. It's probably a certain specific subsection of that. It might be paranormal romance. It might be young adult paranormal romance. It might be young adult paranormal romance who enjoys, I don't know, steampunk or something. So you need to imagine who is that reader more than any other reader in the world that is going to get immense satisfaction from my book, my story, my knowledge. And that's who your target audience is. And the cover image needs to resonate with that target audience. Because when readers go to a bookstore, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple, their senses, their visual senses will be deluged by a cacophony of noise. All of these different competing cover images competing for their attention. And I'm sure you've experienced this yourself. When you go to these cacophonous pages, usually there's one or two covers that will jump off the page to you. It's because that image contains something that speaks to you. That image is making an aspirational promise to you as a potential reader that this book promises you what you're looking for the emotional, educational, entertainment experience that you're looking for. Now, your brain processes the meaning of images faster than it processes the meaning of words. If you think about it, a cover image has the image, which is kind of on the background, and then you've got, the title of the book and the author name. Well, the reader's brain is going to see the image first and process the symbolism of that image first. It's all about eye candy. So 13 milliseconds is how long it takes your brain to process the meaning of an image versus 200 milliseconds to recognize the symbolism of a word. So basically, your brain is going to process the meaning of that image 15 times faster than it would if it reads the book, reads the text on the cover. So what that means is that if you approach your cover design properly, you can convey a lot more information about what your book is going to offer the target reader, thanks to the information density that's enabled by the image processing part of our brain. And remember that, the purpose of the cover is to form the quickest, most efficient link between the reader's aspirations and helping them recognize that your book will satisfy those aspirations for what they're looking for. And often the reader doesn't even know what they're looking for, but the brain does. The brain knows what the reader's interested in. So let's look at some examples. And I'm just going to share a couple examples with you. In the next session on the 16 Secrets to Ebook Publishing Success, we're going to delve into ebook covers and with more case studies. But what you see here is a self-published cover by Camilla Schaefer. And she writes cozy romances. And this is a nice cover. So, what you see here, there's some symbolism here. That gun So before the reader sees anything, before they see the title or the author name or that she's a USA Today best-selling author, they're going to see that gun. The gun means this is probably a murder mystery. You see this well-dressed woman. It's probably a cozy mystery. So if you are interested in cozy mysteries, this is the image that's going to jump off the page, and every other image is going to be invisible on that page because of that symbolism. Now, next I'm going to show you another cozy mystery. Would you know that this is a cozy mystery? No, you wouldn't. Now, this is an actual cover image for a cozy mystery at Smashwords. I'm not going to tell you the name of the author because I don't remember the name of the author and I can't even find the book now. But what I did is I took their image, I gave it a new title and a new author name. I didn't change anything else about this image. This is a horrible cover if you're trying to target fans of cozy mysteries for obvious reasons. There's nothing about this cover that says anything about cozy mysteries. The image might appeal to people who are looking for rest and relaxation on a beach or who like looking at a hazy sky, but it's not going to help you connect with your audience. So this is why you don't want to design your own cover. A professional cover designer is going to understand how they can apply the right symbolism to make that connection with your target reader. All right, so the next step in publishing your book, you're publishing your ebook, is formatting. So ebook formatting is the layout and design process to prepare your manuscript for conversion into an ebook so it can be read on ebook reading devices. After writing BoobTube with my wife, the next book that I wrote was the Smashwords Style Guide. The Smashwords Style Guide teaches you how to professionally format and design an ebook. And it's been more popular than my wildest expectations, over 700,000 downloads. This will teach you how to professionally design, format an ebook, and all you need is Microsoft Word. All you need is a word processor. This guide will walk you step by step through the process. So you can download it at any major retailer, and it's priced at free. So it's always free. Check it out. I'm just going to share a couple tips to help orient you about what ebook formatting is about. So if you have any experience with print design, designing print books, I want you to forget a lot of what you know, because ebooks are designed differently than print books. Print books are a fixed format, so every word appears on the page where the designer wants it to. The designer specifies the font, the kerning, the line spacing, any background colors if there are any. The print designer has total control over that printed page. It's a fixed format. But ebooks are consumed differently than print. Ebooks are consumed on screens. Ebooks allow readers to click a button and increase the font size, so you can have large type reading. Ebook devices allow you to change the background, change the line spacing, to customize the reading experience. All of this is enabled by something called reflowability. That means your text is reflowable. It can shapeshift across the screen. And the Smashwords Style Guide will teach you how to design your book so that the text can shapeshift. Now, back in the early days, 12 years ago when we first launched Smashwords, I remember the people who had the most difficulty formatting their ebooks were the professional print designers, because they were still trying to hold on to, they thought an ebook should look just like a print book. No, you don't want it to look that way. And you want to give the reader the ability to manipulate your text so that they can customize the reading experience. By you giving up that control to the reader, you actually allow your book to become more valuable to the reader because they can customize the experience. So in the Style Guide, in step 7 of the Style Guide, you're going to learn how to use Word's styling features. Now, most of us who've been using Word for many, many years still don't know how to use styling, but I'll teach you step by step how to take advantage of the styling. And that's a really important capability that will allow you to design a beautiful professional quality ebook. And you can do it yourself. So you can do your own formatting. You don't need to hire anybody. And I would encourage you to learn how to do it yourself. Because once you learn, there's a learning curve at the beginning, but once you learn, you'll find it's really easy to do. It can even be fun, and it allows you to update your book anytime you need to update it. So do that with the style guide. But if you're just going to publish one book and you don't have the time or patience to wrangle the multi-headed hydra that is Microsoft Word, and you don't want to read my style guide, you can hire a professional formatter. And I've got those at my list as well. So smashwords.com/list. There are people on that list that will format your book for as little as $50. So it's not expensive. Check it out. You've got different options, but it's not expensive. You don't need to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to get your book designed. Most books can be designed with the formatting that you're going to learn in the Smashwords Style Guide. So here's another example of reflowability. What I did here is I looked at one of the books at Smashwords, one of our best sellers, just to give you an example of what reflowability enables. So what you see on the left side of the screen here, the reader, we're looking at a book on an iPhone. So an iPhone is a small screen. There's not much to it. And this, on the left there, you see the portrait mode, and the reader has chosen a sans serif font with a tan background. Now, if you're a professional print designer, you might think that this is an abomination. Why would anyone choose that kind of design? Well, that's what the reader chose, and that's what the reader wants to read. You want to let them do that. And then over on the right side, you see, that you can turn the phone over into landscape mode, and it automatically repaginates. And then you also see an example of the night reading mode, which is another cool option enabled by reflowable text for people who like to read in night mode. So those are some cool examples of what you can do with reflowability. You want your book to be reflowable. It is how you will maximize your opportunity to connect with readers. All right. So let's look at what your options are to produce your book. You've got your formatted book. You've got your professional cover design. Your book has been professionally edited. It's ready for prime time. How do you turn your manuscript into an ebook that can be read on an iPhone, on a Kindle device, on a Barnes & Noble Nook, whatever? So you've got multiple options. If you're working with a platform like Smashwords, we provide free ebook conversion. So you just upload your Microsoft Word document to Smashwords. We will automatically convert it into all the different file types that are used by these major e-reading devices. And those file types are EPUB, which every major retailer except for Amazon uses, MOBI, which is what Amazon uses, and everyone's familiar with PDF. So that's if you want to use Microsoft Word. There are also ebook design tools that you can use. So one is called Vellum, works on the Mac. You have to pay for it, but it produces beautiful ebooks. Sigil is another ebook design tool. It's free. Pressbooks is a paid service for designing ebooks. And then if you're using the writing tool Scrivener, you can export your books into the EPUB format, so you can produce ebook files that way as well. And if you're working with Smashwords, you can upload these files directly to Smashwords. So you can come to us with a Word document, or you can come to us with a professionally designed EPUB file. Either is fine. If you're publishing a book that is more complex, well, if it's just especially complex, like with lots of charts and graphs, you might want to consider hiring a professional book designer. We've got some over at the on the list at Smashwords, at smashwords.com list. or you can hire one of them just to format your simple book. If you're, let's say you publish children's books and the books are really image heavy, you might want to hire a professional designer. And at the risk of confusing things too much, we've been talking about the reflowable format, but there are fixed format ebooks as well. Most people don't need a fixed format ebook, but if you decide that you do, then you're going to have to go hire a professional designer, and that can become quite expensive. But I think, for 98% of the books that I see, if the writer can reimagine their book as a reflowable book, even children's book authors, they can make reflowability work. Like a lot of children's book authors, for example, put the text directly into the image of their image-heavy book. That doesn't work for reflowability. But if you can reimagine that book and pull the text out so that your book can have the narrative text separated by the images that are just the image, then that works perfectly fine as a reflowable ebook. And that will broaden your potential audience for your book. If you're publishing a fixed format book, you're not going to have as broad of an audience. All right. So here's a term that I'm sure a lot of you have heard, but you may not know what it means: metadata. Metadata is really exciting once you know what it is. Metadata is simply data about your book. Metadata is what bookstores use to make your book discoverable to readers who are searching for a book just like yours. So examples of metadata: author name, if they're going to go to Barnes & Noble and search for Jane Smith. Price is an example of metadata. Your book title, your book description, very critical, important metadata. Any tags, keywords, publication dates, the language of the book, the categorization. When you publish your book, you can usually choose 2 different categories. When you're doing categorization, choose the most specific category you can. If you're writing romance, don't choose romance general. You want to find the specific subcategory of romance that addresses your ideal target reader. So that's what metadata is. And this metadata will get attached to your book when you upload your book to your publishing service. And I'll show you an example of that a little later. ISBN. So what's an ISBN? There's a lot of misinformation out there about ISBNs, what they are and what they're not. So let's demystify those. So an ISBN is a unique 13-digit identifier that gets attached to your book. And it's an identifier that gets attached to no other book in the world. And the ISBN is used by those of us in the ebook supply chain, so suppliers of books, distributors of books, retailers of books, to identify your book. Once an ISBN is attached to your book, anything about your book can change, but we'll always know it's your book and the identity of that book because it's got this unique identifier attached to it. If you're publishing both print books and ebooks, even if it's for the same book, you need to give a different ISBN to your ebook than you give to your print book. Otherwise, that'll screw up your distribution with some of the retailers. So very, very important. Give your ebook a unique ISBN. If you're working with Smashwords, we require an ISBN if you want to distribute your book to Apple, which is the world's 2nd largest retailer of ebooks, to Overdrive, which is the world's largest distributor of books to public libraries, to Kobo, and some of the others that we distribute to. So an ISBN is a good thing for you to have. It's kind of a no-brainer. It'll help expand your distribution opportunities. But what is an ISBN not? An ISBN has nothing to do with the ownership of your book or the copyright of your book. A book that has an ISBN isn't necessarily any more professional or more real than a book that doesn't. And it's not a common discovery method. Back 12 years ago, and I'm sure this is still lingering in some of the darker corners of the publishing universe, There are people out there who think, well, if your ISBN has a certain prefix that makes it look like it's self-published, the readers are going to see that and they're not going to want to buy your book. Well, that's hogwash. All right. Readers are not looking at your ISBN. If they're using your ISBN to search for your book, you've got a bigger problem. The reader is not going to search for your book with an ISBN. They're going to go to Google, type in your author name, type in your title, your category, or they're going to do the same at an ebook retailer. So where do you get an ISBN? If you're working with Smashwords, you get them for free. So, we buy them 100,000 at a time, and we can give them away. And if you get a free Smashwords ISBN, it's going to list Smashwords as your publisher. Does that mean we are your publisher? Absolutely not. Does that mean that we're taking rights to your book? Absolutely not. It's your book. When you're working with Smashwords, you control all the rights to your book. But by publisher, the ISBN authority means the entity that is issuing the book out into the world. And so there's no harm in Smashwords being listed in the ISBN record as your publisher. And so you can get a free ISBN from us if you want. But if you want to be listed in what's called the Bowker record as the publisher of your book, then you can go to bowker.com and you can purchase your own ISBNs. So you can buy a block of 10 for about $300. And I know most of the people watching this are in the United States, so that's the option for you. If you are watching this series in Canada, Canadians get free ISBNs. So those are the options for ISBNs. If you're working with Smashwords, we don't care which one you choose, as long as the ISBN that you're giving us for your book is unique to your book and not the same as what you're putting on your print book or that you've used somewhere else. So that's it for ISBNs. Pricing is a common question. What should I price my ebook at? So let's look at that. The first answer is it really depends on what your objective is. Are you looking to maximize your readership, maximize your sales, or do both? A lot of self-published authors, might want to write a book about their spiritual awakening. And they're not interested in making money off their book. They just want to reach as many people as possible. And if that describes your intentions with your book, then the best price is free. Free books get, on average, about 30 times more downloads than a book at any other price, based on Smashwords data, based on our analysis over the years. But most of you want to maximize your readership and also earn some income. You deserve to earn some income for your hard work. So that's when pricing strategy comes into play here. If you're publishing multiple books, and as you'll learn in the next session, that's one of the secrets to success, is publish more than one book, then I would encourage you to assign different price points to your different books. And here's why. Readers harbor pricing bias. And much of this bias is unconscious. There are some readers that will see a book priced at free and they'll think, oh, that book is garbage. It's not worth my time. I'm not going to read it. There'll be other readers that see a book priced at $5.99 and think, that book's too expensive. I don't know who that author is. I'm not going to take a chance on that. There are some readers out there that won't buy a book that's priced $2.99 or less. Yet there are other readers out there that will only purchase books that are $2.99 or less. And so this is a unconscious pricing bias that every single reader harbors, and every reader's bias is different. And so if you're publishing multiple books, and you can have your book priced at different price points, you could have a free book, a 99-cent book, a $2.99, $4.99, whatever, then you can make that connection with the potential reader without the pricing bias harming you and actually having it help you. And then once the reader actually reads your book and they come to recognize the brilliance of your writing and appreciate you as a writer, as you build that trust with the reader, that pricing bias is going to evaporate. Because all of us, if we have a super awesome favorite author of ours, we don't care if the book's 99 cents or $9.99, we're going to buy that book no matter what. And your opportunity as a self-published author is to earn the trust of readers so that they're going to buy every single book that you write. So for fiction, for self-published fiction, we find that the sweet spots for pricing, these are the price points that earn the highest royalties, the highest earnings for the author, and also maximize the unit downloads. So you want to look at $2.99, $3.99, and $4.99. The last couple of years, $3.99 and $4.99 have been coming on pretty strong. So those are good price points for full-length fiction. If you're writing nonfiction, the dynamics in pricing are different. One thing that we often see in nonfiction is that nonfiction authors make the mistake of pricing their books like fiction, pricing them too low. But you shouldn't do that, because most readers are buying nonfiction for a different reason. We often buy nonfiction because we've got a problem to solve, there's knowledge that we need to gain, and we have a problem the solution to that problem is valuable to us. So, an example I like to give, if you've got a kid who's just been diagnosed with diabetes, and you're purchasing a cookbook on how to make a diabetes-friendly meal, do you want to feed your kid the 99-cent recipes or the $9.99 recipes? You're probably going to go $9.99. So for nonfiction buyers, a higher price connotates higher value, higher quality. So for full-length nonfiction, I think you should be looking around $9.99 for your ebook. Now, one of the great things about ebook publishing is that you choose the price, and you can change the price at any time. So if you're pricing at $9.99 and that price point's not working for you, you can go to your Smashwords dashboard and change it to $5.99 or $4.99, or you can run a sale. You can experiment and find out what works best for your book, because what works best for your book may not be what works best for other authors and other books. All right, copyright. Let's talk about what that is. So the moment you create your original creation, your book, you have copyright for that book. Your copyright gives you the exclusive right to exploit this vast bundle of rights that can be spun out of your book. Book rights, movie rights, audiobook rights, merchandising rights, whatever you can imagine. And as the creator, you are entitled to those rights. We're all familiar with that little circle C copyright symbol. That symbol doesn't provide you any protection at all, but you're welcome to stick it in your ebook if you want. If you want the best protection, the best copyright protection, you need to go to copyright.gov. This is the federal government, and register your copyright with them. And it's as little as $45 to do that. That will give you the ability to press legal action against somebody if they violate your copyright. Now, realistically, you're never going to actually sue someone. Like, let's say some teenager in another country steals your book and publishes it as their own at Amazon. It has happened. You're not going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to hire a lawyer, in another country, when there's no money that you're ever going to recover from that scoundrel. Instead, you're going to want Amazon to just take that book down immediately. And that's what most authors do. But, for the peace of mind, I think a lot of authors do find that this is money well spent if, for any reason, they feel like someone is violating their copyright. It gives you the legal right to sue them. All right, piracy. Now, this is a big concern for a lot of authors, especially authors that are starting to self-publish ebooks for the first time. Here's what you need to know about piracy. Don't worry about it. Obscurity is a bigger threat to your author career than piracy. If you are successful as an author, I can guarantee you, you will get pirated. There will be scumbag scoundrels out there who never buy any book, they only steal books. But I want you to recognize that those dark hat pirates who only download books from the pirate bulletin boards, they weren't going to buy your book anyway. So although they are stealing your book and enjoying your book without compensating you, they never would have bought your book anyway. Now, most of the piracy that happens is accidental. It's that enthusiastic reader who discovers you for the first time and you rocked their world, you changed their life. They want to share that book with their friends and family. They want to go out there and evangelize your book for you. And so they're going to share it with a friend, or they might share it with a friend. And I know a lot of authors get upset by that, but I would counsel you, when that happens, I want you to view that as the lowest cost, most effective form of marketing that you'll ever have, that word of mouth marketing. And recognize that that enthusiastic reader, although they shouldn't be sharing your ebook with somebody, that's illegal, they are turning someone else on to you and your author brand. And there's a good chance that that person that they gave the book to is going to go out and start buying your other books. Now, there are some things that you can do to combat, to minimize, to mitigate piracy. So number one, choose a price that's reasonable, that's fair. You know, if you are trying to price your romance novel at $20, most readers are going to see that as egregious. They're not going to want to pay that. It's not going to be affordable to them. But you know, if you're pricing your book at $2.99 to $4.99, it's affordable. Make your book broadly available at every single ebook retailer so that your book is easier to purchase than it is to steal. And broad availability is also really important because when you're out there marketing your book online, on Facebook or on Twitter, Instagram, you're actually communicating to a global audience. And if your book isn't available at the bookstore that is available to that reader in India or Pakistan or France, you're creating demand for the book, but you're not satisfying the demand by making your book available to where they can get it. And so that's going to drive piracy. If your book is exclusive to a single retailer, you're encouraging piracy. So make your book available at all the stores. Avoid making your book exclusive at any other store. And you know, if you take these steps, you'll minimize piracy. Well, there's another step I didn't mention here, but I should tell you about. And you'll find this in the Smashwords Style Guide. There's something that I invented called the Smashwords License Statement. And I've put this out into the public domain. You can use it, you can take it, you could put it right into your book. I'm sure many of you are familiar, like you've probably seen it on like old, like if you remember video cassettes, and even today you see it on movies. You'll go to watch a movie and there's this fire and brimstone warning, $500,000 fine for illegal copying of this product, whatever. Some authors put a warning like that in their book. Don't do that. What the Smashwords license statement is it appeals to the decency of the reader. It appeals, it politely informs the reader that this book is licensed for your personal enjoyment only. If you did not purchase this book for your own enjoyment, or it was not purchased explicitly for you, please support this writer by purchasing your own copy. I mean, it's basically words to that effect. So it's a softer way of reminding readers of their ethical obligation to support your hard work. And so I would encourage you to put that, you know, right up front on the title page of every book you publish. You'll find the wording in the Smashwords Style Guide, and you're welcome to change the wording to anything that reflects what your values are. But that'll help minimize piracy. All right, so Now, how do you get your book out to, so it's purchasable by the customers of, the Barnes & Noble, ebook store, Kobo, Apple, everywhere else. So let's talk about distribution. So what you see here are some of the world's largest sellers of ebooks. Amazon, oh, shoot. Well, I don't have Amazon on this list. It belongs on this list. It used to be on my list. We do distribute some books to Amazon. So Amazon is the world's largest seller of ebooks. The world's second largest seller of ebooks is Apple Books. And the third largest seller, well, things are fluid right now. It might be Barnes & Noble, but sometimes it could be Kobo, or it might even be Smashwords sometimes, our stores coming up. So every major retailer in the world wants to carry self-published ebooks. They're investing millions of dollars in their businesses to support you. You should make your books available to them. So those are the major retailers. Scribd is a major subscription service. We distribute to Scribd. These are all the places that we distribute to, by the way. Overdrive is the world's largest provider of ebooks to public libraries. They're working with tens of thousands of public libraries. And we were the first to open up Overdrive to self-published ebooks. So you want your books there. Cloud Library is another library platform. It's smaller than Overdrive. Odeo is a small library platform with more of an international focus. They just entered China. Khalifa is a cooperative here in California State that buys a lot of books. We probably sell more books to Khalifa than we do to Overdrive, even though Overdrive is the largest distributor of ebooks. And then there's some other smaller ones. So you want to get your books out to as many different places as possible. And of course, the Smashwords store. So even if you're not using Smashwords to distribute your book to the major retailers, you should at least have your book at Smashwords to take advantage of our stores. I mentioned earlier, we're going to have our fourth consecutive year of revenue growth in the Smashwords store, the ebook store, which is pretty amazing considering that most retailers have been shrinking in recent years. Okay, so you've got two options for getting your books out into stores. The first option is to use a distributor. Smashwords is a distributor. And I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of each of the different options. Now, I must admit I am biased. I am a big believer in working with a distributor. When you talk with people who use a distributor and ask them what they enjoy about it, you're probably going to hear that the author really appreciates the simplicity, the reach. You can upload a single book to your distributor, and the distributor will send it out to multiple sales outlets, including outlets that you can't reach any other way other than using a distributor. Especially when you've got multiple books published, a distributor makes it really easy to manage your books, to manage all the metadata for your books. If you want to put all of your books on sale, you can do that once at the distributor. The distributor propagates out those changes to all the different retailers. A distributor offers you consolidated sales reporting, consolidated monthly payments, consolidated tax reporting. These things save you a lot of time. And as a writer, you need to ask yourself, what is your unique contribution to the world? What is it that you can do that no one else can do? And that's writing books, writing the books that only you can write. If you work with a distributor is going to give you more time to write books, so you'll spend less time managing different sales outlets. And that's a huge benefit of working with a distributor. We also provide merchandising support. Every single week, we are recommending books to our retail partners that they should consider merchandising, basically featuring on their homepages. We have gotten hundreds, if not thousands, of Smashwords authors featured prominently at these stores for opportunities that the authors wouldn't have had otherwise if they weren't working with us. So we're excited about that. I might talk a little bit more about that in the next presentation. But the key thing that I can leave you with is, we're not going to recommend every single book. We recommend books based on merit, based on your track record working with us. If your book is selling really well at Barnes & Noble, we're going to recommend it to Apple, even if you're not selling well at Apple, for example. So if you're distributing with us, if we can see your audited sales, which we can see if you're distributing with us, we will know which books are worthy of recommendation and which authors are worthy of recommendation, like if you've got a book that's coming out in the future. So that's basically, those are the advantages of using a distributor. When you use a distributor, the distributor makes their money by taking a commission on everything you sell. So our commission is 10%. We were the first distributor of self-published ebooks, and now everybody copied us, so everybody charges basically the same thing. 10% of the list price will be your commission if you work with Smashwords or if you work with any other distributor. Now, the other option to get your book out to a lot of these retailers is to upload direct to the retailers. So Apple, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and Amazon all allow you to upload your book directly to their stores. So you don't need a distributor to get into those stores. Their platforms generally are very easy to use, just like Smashwords is easy to use. But if that gives you, 4 or 5 different sales outlets that you've got to individually manage. So if you want to update the cover for your book, change the description, fix a typo in your book, you're going to have to go to each store individually and go through their processes to make the update, rather than just making the update once at the distributor. But it's your call. And if you work with a distributor like Smashwords, we give you the ability to opt in and opt out of different retailers. So I mentioned Amazon a little bit earlier. We're distributing over 300,000 books to these major retailers, but probably fewer than 300 books to Amazon. They're not very friendly to distributors. So what we recommend to our authors is that you upload your own book directly to Amazon. It's not difficult. And then you can use Smashwords to reach all the other major sales outlets. But it's your choice. Okay, pre-orders. What's a pre-order? I'm really excited about pre-orders. As you'll learn in the third workshop I'm doing on the book launch. Book launches, pre-orders, and pre-sales. So when you release your ebook, you need to release it as a pre-order. It is dumb. It is stupid not to release a new book as a pre-order. And you'll learn more later about why that's the case. So an ebook pre-order is an advanced listing of your book before it's available to the general market. So it's a way of advertising your book before it's available for readers. So you'll get your book listing at the retailer, just as any book would be listed, and readers can reserve a copy. And once they reserve that copy, then they can forget about it. And as soon as your book is released to the general public, when it hits its release date, that book will automatically appear in their library, ready for them to read. And at that time, their credit card will be charged. So it's a great convenience for readers to take advantage of pre-orders. But what are the advantages to you as an author? Well, the advantages are huge. You can list your pre-order up to 12 months in advance of its release. That means you've got this additional shelf space for 12 months before your book is even available to read. So that is golden. But if for no other reason, you should release your book as a pre-order, because books that are released as pre-orders sell a lot more copies than books that are not released as pre-orders. And I'm going to share some really interesting data with you in the next session on the 16 secrets. I'm going to actually show you the top 10 best-selling categories of books and what percentage of books in each category, what percentage of annual sales go to books that are released as pre-orders and books that are simply uploaded the day of release. And that might blow your mind. It blows my mind every time I look at it. Now, so why are pre-orders so effective? Well, I think the most important reason is that they enable more effective advanced marketing. So most writers, when they're working on their work in progress, they're communicating with their fans, their friends, online, on Facebook, talking about the book I'm writing. Well, you may not think of that as marketing, but you're actually marketing your book. You're generating demand for your book. And if you have a pre-order, you can add a link to your discussion of this work in progress, which will allow you, by sharing a hyperlink to the pre-order, you can capture the customer's order, the reader's order, at the moment you have their greatest attention and interest. Because otherwise, your fans and potential readers are going to think, oh, Jane Smith is releasing a book in 6 months. It sounds really interesting. I'm going to have to buy it when it comes out. Well, between now and 6 months, they're going to forget about it. You're going to lose that sale. But if you can get them to get the pre-order now, place that reservation for the book now, then it'll automatically be purchased once the book is available. Now, another really neat thing about pre-orders, well, there's a lot of really neat things. So increased merchandising opportunities, more opportunities for your book to be featured at the store. Many of the major ebook stores are very focused on what books are coming out in the future. They're focused on promoting and marketing the pre-orders, the exciting pre-orders that are coming. So if your book is available as a pre-order, it is eligible to be considered for that type of marketing, that front page, homepage marketing of the major stores. Another neat thing, and this applies to sales at Apple Books. So again, Apple's the world's second largest seller of ebooks, and also at the Smashwords store. At Apple, every single pre-order that you accumulate during your pre-order period credits toward your first day's sales rank when your book goes on sale. So this will catapult you higher in the bestseller lists, both store-wide bestseller lists for an individual store and also genre bestseller lists. So imagine you've got your book on pre-order for an entire year, and every single day you're able to capture one pre-order. That means when your book finally releases, you're going to have 365 orders. You're going to get credit for 365 orders on day one at Apple Books. That's going to thrust you into the bestseller list for your category. So, if you just sell a single book in a single day once your book is on sale, you're not going to make any bestseller list. But with the magic of pre-orders, especially at Apple, and it works this way at the Smashwords store and our bestseller lists, all of those accumulated pre-orders credit toward your first day's sales rank. So we'll talk more about that in the next session on best practices, 16 secrets, and we'll also talk about it in the third session on the book launch. So that's enough for now. So check out that other session. Also, the Smart Author Podcast, episode 4, has a 22-minute episode on how to do pre-orders and some pre-order strategy ideas. So you can listen to that as well. All right. So now you're ready to upload your book. How do you do that? So what you see here is a screenshot of the Smashwords published page. And all the retailers are basically the same. It's really easy to publish your book once it's ready to be published. You can see, you just go here, you type in the title of your book, and then we ask you, what is your release date? You can choose to release your book immediately, like right now, and it will go for sale in our store within 5 minutes. It's that fast. But you just learned that you shouldn't do that. You should put your book on pre-order. So you're going to click the button that says make it a pre-order, then the calendar pops up and you can choose what day in the future you want your book to be released to the public. So it's that simple to upload your book. Later on the publishing page, we'll ask you for categorization, we'll ask you for the description of the book. So it's on this publish page that we are capturing all that metadata that will make your book discoverable at the major ebook stores. All right. So here is something completely new. Pre-sales, ebook pre-sales. And I want you to run a pre-sale prior to the general release date of your book. So your book's going to be on pre-order. So before it releases to the general public as a pre-order, you can run a pre-sale. So what is a pre-sale? How is it different from a pre-order? So with a pre-order, readers place the pre-order, which is basically an order reservation, and then they have to wait until the general release date before they can actually read the book. With a pre-sale, you're going to enable certain readers to be able to purchase and read the book early. All right. You can use the promise of pre-sale access as a huge incentive to encourage readers to sign up for your private mailing list. You can use the excitement of a pre-sale, the excitement of early access to increase your book sales, to generate buzz and excitement about your book before the launch of your book. So it's a really great tool, and it's a new tool. This is what I spent almost all of my 2019 on. This is a tool that was invented by Smashwords. We call it Smashwords Pre-Sales, and it's so cool that we even applied for a patent on it. We don't know yet if the patent will be granted. It's always a long shot to get a patent on something like this, but the invention's pretty cool. And if you want to take advantage of this tool, it's only available at the Smashwords store. Now, my hope long-term is that we can get other major ebook retailers to take advantage of this tool as well. One of the things that makes me really excited about the tool is I think this is a tool that's going to put the power of publishing back into the hands of the authors, so that authors are setting the terms for how their books are priced, where they're sold, and so that we can have more of the benefits of publishing flow to authors rather than to retailers. All right, so that's pre-sales. Marketing. So marketing is a huge, huge question for all authors, especially self-published indie authors. So let's just share some information on that. First thing I'd encourage you to do is go download my book. It's available at the ridiculous price of free. This is the 2020 edition of the Smashwords Book Marketing Guide. You're going to learn 65 free book marketing ideas. And even if you don't work with Smashwords, you're going to learn a lot of great ideas on how to market your books more effectively. So check that out. The 2018 edition of the marketing guide is actually serialized on the podcast. So if you'd rather hear me speak it, then you can listen to the podcast, the complete book's there, the 2018 edition. The 2018 edition was the first major revision of the book in like 7 years. So this book is, it was a kind of a monumental feat for me to complete this and to update it. It's so completely updated, and it contains everything I know about how to market books effectively. And much of what I know is inspired by what you, my fellow indie authors, have taught me. I learn from our authors, and I'm always looking to see what are they doing that's working well, and what are the best practices that they're pioneering, and then I share it with you in these books. But more about marketing. What is marketing? Well, marketing is everything that you do to make your book more discoverable, more enjoyable, more desirable to potential readers. Your book is your best marketing. That's why it is so important for you to write that super awesome book that I spoke about. Good books are not good enough anymore. Readers are going to determine your success as an author. It's going to be reader word of mouth. We'll talk more about that in the next episode or the next session. So if you're not taking your reader to an emotionally satisfying extreme, you're not going to get word of mouth. You're not going to get readers evangelizing you. You're not going to earn those 5-star reviews. And if you're not generating word of mouth, you're not earning those 5-star reviews, your book's not going to sell. You're not going to reach very many readers. Now, 12 years ago, when Smashwords and Amazon first came on the scene, readers had never seen 99-cent ebooks before. So even poor quality books priced at 99 cents were getting tens of thousands of downloads. Well, that's not the case anymore. So we're going to talk about that in the Secrets to Ebook Publishing Success, the next episode. It's all about best practices. It's all about thinking and acting like a professional publisher. The best practices, which is the subject of the next session, these are the catalysts that amplify word of mouth, that create word of mouth. And so these are the things that you want to implement to market your book more effectively. All right. So the next question is, what am I going to earn from my book? And how are the earnings calculated? So let's look at some of the different sales outlets that you're going to sell through, and I'll tell you what you're going to earn. So most book sales today are done as a single copy sale. The reader buys a copy of the book at Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever. If you're using a distributor, you're going to earn 60% of the list price. The retailer takes 30% of the list price, and the distributor earns 10%. If you're selling in the Smashwords store, you'll earn up to 80% list. So the Smashwords store pays probably among the highest. Public libraries, so it's different there. So you earn less at the public library. You're going to earn 45% list when you're distributing through Smashwords to the public libraries. We take a 10% commission. This is pretty standard. The public libraries, the library aggregators, distributors just pay less than the retailers do. And then another model that's really come on strong over the last few years is the subscription model. And this is where the reader is essentially borrowing the book, and you're not always paid based on the list price. So Scribd I mentioned Scribd earlier. They're a major subscription service. They are the only subscription service that pays you based on the list price of your book. That's why I'm such a fan of Scribd. And we're going to talk more about Scribd and these different subscription services in some of my other workshops, because there's, I think, some important stuff that you really need to know. There's a dark side to some of these subscription services, specifically Kindle Unlimited, which is Amazon's subscription service. They pay less than a half penny per page. And Kobo Plus, which is kind of a relatively new entry from Kobo on the subscription side. So generally, these services pay less, with the exception of Scribd. So at Scribd, the reader, after they read like about the first 10% of your book, then it triggers a full sale and you get your full royalty based on the price of your book. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, that'll give you an idea of what some of the numbers look like as you at the different sales channels and different models for selling your book out there. All right. So we're coming near the end of this session, the Introduction to Ebook Publishing. Let's talk about your plan forward. You need to recognize that you, the author, the self-published author, the indie author, you are the future of publishing. You are your own gatekeeper. So you decide when your manuscript is ready for publication. You decide when you graduate from being an aspiring author to a published author. You need to honor your readers. You need to give them those super fabulous, super awesome books that make them go, wow. And because you're a self-published author, you can release your books faster than traditional publishers and at lower prices. This means you can do a better job of serving your readers than the large publishers can. That's exciting. Now, the task before you is not easy. Most self-published authors don't make very much money, just like most traditionally published authors don't make much money. So I am not here to tell you that self-publishing is the road to riches. For most people, it's not. But still, the opportunity for you to reach readers has never been greater than it is today. There are so many exciting opportunities for you to connect your book with a global audience of readers. There are literally billions of people in the world who are carrying a bookstore in their pocket called a smartphone. And for all of those people, your book is literally just a few clicks away from being discovered. So in the the episodes that follow, I'm going to give you more tips on how to reach more readers. So if you want to learn more, again, here are the other sessions I'm doing here for the Colorado Writers Collaborative. Next one, 16 Secrets to Ebook Publishing Success. I would encourage you to watch these in sequential order because they build on each other. And then, of course, the book launch strategy, and then the author's guide to post-pandemic publishing, and the silver lining that is COVID. I don't even feel comfortable saying that, but COVID has been good for most indie authors, and you'll learn why. All right. There again is my podcast. You can find it any major podcast aggregator. You can find it at Smashwords, smashwords.com/podcast. The podcast focuses on evergreen best practices. So these are not flash in the pan things that work today but will stop working tomorrow. These are the essential foundational things that you need to do to ensure that you're going to have a long-term career as an author. So here are all my ebooks that I've written on ebook publishing best practices. So we talked about the marketing guide, another book, The Secrets to Ebook Publishing Success. That's all about best practices. That book's due for a revision in the next year or two, but still has a lot of good information in it. And then, of course, the Smashwords Style Guide, how to design and format your book. So that's it. Thank you for listening to this first episode. If you want to connect with me, my email is right there, mc@smashwords.com. I can't be your personal support department, but if you're running into any issues, have any big burning questions, I can at least try to point you in the right direction. I do enjoy hearing from authors. I work with authors every day. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. That's my personal Facebook page. You can also follow Smashwords at facebook.com/Smashwords. And then all of these presentations I'm doing for CWC, once CWC launches, I'm going to put all the presentations online at slideshare.net. So go to slideshare.net/Smashwords, and you can download any of them from there. So I think that's it.